Hi there, my name is Hannah Ragsdale. I am currently getting my master's in business administration with West Texas A&M, and today I'm going to be reviewing Data and Goliath, the hidden battles to collect your data and control your world. So through different blog postings this semester, I think it's been very clear that I lean more towards the side of caution and more towards the side of privacy. I want to know where my data is going, where it's being sold to, and kind of what's going on. But I've also noticed through this book that I had this false illusion that I was private and that because my privacy settings were on, that was enough. Turns out that's not the case. If we look at the way that data is collected today and over the last few years and really since the internet was even connected, we really don't have a lot of privacy. Let's dive into it. The book Data and Goliath is cut into three separate parts. So we're looking at the world we're creating, what's at stake, and what to do about it. The world we're creating kind of goes into, at the time that the book was written, what are we doing and setting up for our future? What are we allowing with the privacy in the privacy settings? What are we allowing whenever it comes to companies collecting our data? Okay. Then we have our what's at stake. So what's at stake is, what does this change for us in the future? How is our data going to be collected? How is it going to be used against us? And is there any legs to stand on? And then what to do about it. So that kind of talks about what are our options? What are the laws surrounding any sort of data privacy and data collection, storage, selling it, and kind of what we can do in the future to protect ourselves as the consumer. In the book, Bruce lets us know that at the time that the book was written, mind you, this was like 2014, 2015 stats, we had about 10 billion devices connected to the internet, which sounds crazy. That's a lot. And at the time that the book was written, they expected by 2020 we would have 30 billion devices connected to the internet. That's exponentially growing by 3 times as much. Okay. Through some quick research and looking to see kind of what we're looking at today, as of 2022, those numbers were only at 14.4 billion. So we didn't hit anywhere close to that 30 billion range that they originally had thought. And now the current projection is that we'll hit about 27 billion at 2025. So we still have a few years to hit that 27 billion. We're definitely not anywhere close to that 30 billion that Bruce was kind of hinting at in the book, but we've still grown and it's been crazy. Whenever you think back to when the book was written, they also made comments about how cars will know when they're driving it and what laws they're breaking. We're already there. And that's where part of our increase in connected devices comes from. In 2014 was when the first Apple CarPlay was invented. And now Apple CarPlay is in every new car that we have. So that car knows who's driving it and where it's going. I can get in my car on a Wednesday night and it knows that I do my grocery shopping on Wednesdays, so it's immediately going to pull up on the screen. It'll take you 7 minutes to get to the closest Walmart. Also, whenever they talk about it'll know if you're breaking laws, I have a handy dandy app on this phone right here that is connected to my insurance. They know if I'm speeding, they know if I've touched my phone at all, and it communicates. Does it communicate to the police? No, thank goodness. However, it still communicates, and that's part of our data that's getting used, stored, and sold. With the uptick of both technological devices and advances, we see an uptick in surveillance too. One of the most interesting quotes that I read in the book from Bruce Schneier in Data and Goliath was, "The truth is that people aren't given much of a choice. It's either surveillance or nothing." And that's definitely the case, because if I'm carrying around one of these, it's telling everybody that wants to know anything what I'm searching for, where I'm shopping, who I'm with, where I'm going, and so much more. So, where do we draw the line there? Where is it that we have surveillance or we have nothing? Is there any sort of middle ground there? TheEconomist.com says that one of the toughest questions of modern life is where to draw the bounds of privacy and privacy law. It's a tough one because there are so many lines that get crossed all the time. But also, we've already set the precedents. And what's at stake? We set the precedents that they can track us, that they can collect data on us and sell it to whoever we want. So, where do you draw a line now? How do you backtrack and tell all these companies and corporations that they can't do that anymore? With all of that being said, I do tend to lean more towards the ideas of Bruce, where we do need to have some sort of boundary, some sort of laws, rules, regulations, at least letting people know that they're being tracked in a linguistic way that makes sense to them. All of these terms and conditions that are, 150 pages long, of course nobody's reading those. Is it still our fault for agreeing to it? Yes. But I think that it should be very clear for each website where your data is going, what it's being used for, who it's getting sold to, and how long it'll be stored. I think that's super important to let the consumer know so that they're aware of what's going on. Where I think the collection and storage of data could be useful, honestly, I think that there's so many ways that it could. I just don't think it needs to be happen all the time. Okay, I was searching for a dress this morning for a cousin's wedding. I don't think anybody needs to know that information, but maybe they do. But I used to be a teacher. I taught for Lubbock Cooper ISD, and we had one-to-one technology. That means all of these kids had their own iPads. I think that needed to be surveilled. I had middle through high school students, which means they're in the kind of rebellious age, they're going to do whatever they want. If there wasn't any bounds on that technology and surveillance there, we could have gotten into a lot of trouble in and out of class. So I think that there's a time and a place for surveillance, and there always will be. But is it every search? Is it every time I hop in my car? Is it every time that I do anything or make a purchase? That I'm not so sure about. In the big scheme of things, it's easy to see that we've probably lost both the battle and the war whenever it comes to surveillance and getting our data. I think where we need to draw the balance from now on is what it's used for, and really being honest with the consumer so that they know where their data is going at all times. I think that's the only way that we can really change things, is just opening up that conversation and having just a two-way street of communication as to what that data is doing, where it's going, what it's being used for, all of those things, because let's face it, as technology increases, we're not going to stop being surveilled. If anything, it's going to get worse.